pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. The first order of business is special recognition. Sorry. Scott, I'm sorry. We're adjusting down here. Okay, go ahead.
Sure. I'd like to, the K-12 music program at Ellington continues to impress, as we all know, all the amazing performances that they continue to put on for the Ellington family. And so I'd like to call up Sharon Biggie and John Cheeman. They are going to do a special recognition. And Tim Adams. Hey, Tim, I didn't see you. Come on up.
Do you want to hold that?
Whatever works for you.
I'll hold it. So this is the third year in a row, I believe. Matt couldn't be here tonight, Matt DeLassis. We want to thank him for getting the ball rolling every year on this and filling out all the paperwork and going through that task, which has got to be big. They'll have their chance to speak, but I just feel very privileged to be part of this staff. This music department they're wonderful to work with, and can't wait next year when we can get back to some normal musicality in the classroom and on the stage, and for the kids. It's just a wonderful experience, and we're just so excited about this. So I don't know who wants to speak next. Okay.
I agree with John. It's an absolute honor to be in the Ellington Music Department. I can't think of more talented people than my colleagues, K through 12, pre-K through 12, sorry. This is an honor, and it's not one we take lightly. I'm very proud of the resiliency and the strength of all of the members of the music department for pulling together, for creating music, for making music and keeping everything going during a pandemic, during hybrid learning, during silver, and in person. Thank you.
Well, you said it all. It's an honor and a pleasure to work with some fantastic colleagues who are all fantastic musicians unto themselves, as well as bring out musicianship in our children from kindergarten through 12th grade. And there's just seeing the results of what happens at 12th grade with our band over 100 people, with our jazz band knocking the socks off of everybody who comes to see them, and our vocal groups doing great things. That starts with us at the elementary level, continues through the middle school, which is still a fantastic staff, and then right up to our 12th and 9 through 12, Matt and Richie, who do an awesome job. So, with that said, thank you to Matt and to the NAMM Foundation for, again, recognizing us as one of the premier schools in the country for music.
Well deserved. Congratulations.
Our next special recognition, I'd like to call up Co-Principal Nash and EMS teacher Nicole Balduck.
Good evening, everyone. I'm thrilled to be here tonight to recognize Nicole for her amazing contributions, not only to the Ellington community, but exciting news about what she'll be contributing to the greater science community across the country this summer. I know many of you have had children yourselves in Nicole's classroom, or may even currently have children in Nicole's classroom and know firsthand how wonderful an educator she is. I've worked with Nicole my whole career and have learned so much from her about teaching. She's reinvented herself over and over again, constantly trying new ideas, putting forth a creative approach to teaching in her class. I did a straw poll a couple of years ago. I was just going through, hey, what's your favorite class? And it just so happened that every single student was like, science. It's science. It's science. It's science. It's science. Nicole's classroom is incredibly engaging. She's a leader in the field of NGSS. When the NGSS standards were rolled out, Nicole once again reinvented herself and embraced those standards and figured out how to make them work in a middle school classroom, and has been leading science work in Ellington Middle School, but also K-12 throughout the district, working with teachers at the elementary school and high school as well. But the exciting news for this summer is actually Nicole has two amazing opportunities where she will be working with the Open SciEd organization, and they are hiring her and flying her to California, where she will be working with teachers in the Silicon Valley area, right, somewhere over there. And she will be modeling demonstration lessons for teachers in California as they work to improve their practice with Nicole's training. And then in July, she will be working for a different organization, the Right Question Institute, which is a group Nicole's actually been working with for several years. And the Right Question Institute has a technique called the QFT, the question formulation technique, which is a book that actually Ellington Middle School teachers studied probably 5-6 years ago now. Nicole read the book, started doing the work in her classroom. The publisher of the book and the organization quickly found out the amazing work Nicole was doing and has been working with her and in contact with her about the techniques she's been using in her classroom since then, over the last several years. And this in July, she will be going to Kentucky and working with teachers to talk about the question formulation technique and how teachers can embrace that technique in their teaching. So just incredibly proud of Nicole. She's an amazing teacher. She's been an asset to the Ellington Middle School and Ellington science teacher community, and we're excited about her opportunity to influence teachers all over the country. And also just a note on how important networking is. Nicole's network is expanding quite quickly, and all of these different connections and resources that she is learning about, she's bringing back to Ellington and helping us grow as a school and as a district. So just wanted to say, Nicole, we're so proud of you. You're an amazing teacher, and we're lucky to have you as part of our staff. And I'll turn it over to you if you want to say a few words.
Thank you, Mike. I appreciate that. I'm really excited that Ellington allows me to go off and do all these different things and encourages me to do this leadership around the country. So I do appreciate that. And what I love about Open SciEd is they promote equity in the classroom, which is super important. So all of the things that I learned when I'm going out to train teachers, I can bring back in my classroom and promote equity as well for science education for all students, no matter what. So that's just something I'm really excited about, and getting kids to ask questions in the classroom and generate questions so that they can become valuable citizens in our society later. So I find the work to be really meaningful, and I'm really excited that Ellington pushes me to do these things. So thank you.
Nicole, we're very proud of you, and we can't wait to see and hear all about your adventures this fall. Definitely. The third recognition we have this evening is Ayushman. I don't know if everyone knows Ayushman, but I have perused his resume several times. It reads like a novel. He's very active in the community, over 100+ hours this year alone with community service. He plays the piano. He is quite accomplished. He's been to Carnegie Hall. He's been a complete asset to this group here for the past year, especially in times of challenge. He's stepped up and been a part of the reopening committee. He's also working with our math program so that we can improve on that. He gives his time to students who need assistance in math and other academic areas. He's a phenomenal individual, and you know, your resume reads like you should be in a Fortune 500 company already as a CEO. I definitely expect to see you go beyond the stars. So congratulations, and thank you for your time and service. Any words? You want to say anything? Speech.
Sure, I did have a few words. It's been a great honor to serve alongside all of you for the last year. I still remember getting that call from Mr. Guidry last spring that I had been selected as the new student representative, and I'm still tremendously grateful for this opportunity. I learned so much about the inner workings of Ellington Public Schools and our government, and all about the great things happening here in Ellington. And also, you all work so hard on behalf of us students to provide educational opportunities and support, and I've learned a lot from seeing that process up close. I'm really glad that I was able to advocate for the concerns of our students and serve as a liaison to help students be better informed, especially through all the challenges, like you said, with COVID. I'll certainly take away many lessons about communication and governance and leadership, both to Brown starting this fall and my life after college. And I'm also thrilled to be able to pass on the torch to our next student representative, whose announcement I'll save for Mr. Guidry later in the meeting. But again, thank you so much for giving me this opportunity, and thank you for all the work that you do for Ellington Public Schools.
Thank you. Thanks very much, Ayushman. Okay, so the next item on the agenda is Citizens and Staff Forum. We have 4 individuals. I do want to just remind all the citizens who are interested in speaking this evening that we ask you to keep it to 5 minutes at a max. And it is a time for us to hear your concerns. It's not a time for us to respond. We don't usually do back and forth, but we definitely want to hear from the citizens of town and find out what people have to say. So with that being said, our first citizen would be Carissa Dubord. Yes, please, if you wouldn't mind.
I guess I'm going to kick it off. Set up for you.
There
Is that
you go.
okay? Better?
Excellent,
Okay.
perfect.
So I guess just wanted to address the topic of going into the school year next year with the children being masked. I know it's obviously not a topic on the agenda for tonight, but just because it's an open forum and this is one of the last meetings of this school year. So just wanted to voice my opinion on behalf of other parents and teachers in the town of Ellington to let's take the masks off of the children. Everyone else is now, you can see, just got back from Florida. There's no masks. They haven't had masks in school. Everyone's very healthy. And just as I was leaving tonight and said goodbye to my kids, they're still elementary age, and where are you going? And I said, I'm going to go protect you and keep you safe. And you've done a great job. Everyone, all of the teachers in the town, everyone has done a phenomenal job, including all of us parents, I feel like. And my daughter actually sat up and said to me, I really appreciate that, Mommy. She's only in 3rd grade. I had a really hard time breathing today and got very, very dizzy. And that just hit me and made me feel like I was doing the right thing. So just want to take that into consideration. And I also want to respect and put out there that I do respect the fact that it should be an option, because there are people that are immune suppressed and there's different issues all the way across the spectrum. So I think everything needs to be addressed, but I think it should also be an option, and everyone's entitled to make their own decision for themselves and for their own children, because we are their advocate at this point in time. So thanks, and appreciate everything everybody does.
Thank you. Thank you very much. The next citizen is Nicole Roy.
Well, not as good as you. I'm reading off paper. Hi, I'm Nicole Roy. I'm a mom to a soon-to-be high schooler in town. And I'm going to read off paper because I have a folder full of information and didn't want to take the whole night. But it has been an awful year for a lot of people. And it's been a rough year for everybody. And today I'm here, actually, first thing I wanted to do was thank all of the Board of Education members. Compared to a lot of other towns in the state of Connecticut, we've done a wonderful job here. I think that you guys have all made a really big difference in the kids' lives. We've been able to be open since, I believe, October. And I know people in surrounding towns whose kids just went back to school a month and a half, 2 months ago. And so I just wanted to thank everybody for that, because that's really important. And I'd like to mention that at this point, it's disappointing to see our children still wearing masks. So I am also going to focus on this upcoming school year. If we are following the science, how is that so when there's little to no risk of this virus to the children? All adults are unmasked now. Why are preschoolers and up wearing masks still at this time? When do we stand up and follow the science of the emotional, physical, and unknown harm that our children may be enduring while being forced to cover their airways? So I'm here tonight loudly to stand against that there be absolutely no mask mandates next school year at all. It should be an option. The amount of local parents who agree with unmasking our children are starting to chat about it, yet they aren't really ready to get vocal about it. They're still fearful, what people will think of them, this and that. So I'm here today to be vocal for all of them. And trust me, there's many people I know in town here, parents, grandparents, etc., share the same opinion, but nobody really wants to speak up about it. So today I actually spent the day at the Connecticut State Capitol attending the Connecticut Rally for Your Rights. And there was talk that school districts in certain areas are being funded to continue mask mandates. I don't know exactly where that is. I do not have actual facts to present to you tonight on that, but it was talk at the rally today. So if that happens here in our district, are we willing as a school district to stand up against that? If mask mandates are effective in our school district for the upcoming school year, I just want everybody to know to expect to see a lot more people and residents in town standing up against that. I've connected again with local Ellington parents, grandparents, residents over the situation already, and there's over 60 local residents already at this current time who want to unmask our children in the schools. So Larissa Johnson is a wonderful education attorney who spoke today at the Connecticut rally, and I urge you to reach out to her with any questions moving forward. Her name is Larissa Johnson, and she's an education attorney. So I really urge you all to follow the facts, not the fear, and not use money as a motivator moving forward, and please make masks optional for this upcoming school year. So that's really all I have to say, and thank you for listening.
Thank you, Nicole.
Try to get this back.
Our third citizen is Holly Goedek.
Great. Hi, I'm Holly Goedek. I live in Ellington. My daughter's going to be soon to graduate Friday, and I'm just basically here just kids, I mean, they've been troopers, adults too. The burden they carry of what they've been heard and what they do. I just shout out to them, but I am here hopefully next year, this next coming school year, that the kids won't be in masks. And please, I just pray that it's not a matter of money and funding, because this could be long-term health for them, and it's kind of scary. But thanks for your time, and hope these words mean something. And just wanted to add too that as people, we're healthy until proven sick. So thanks. God bless.
Thank you. And the last citizen is Kristin Millen.
Thank you, Jen. I had the pleasure of having Ayushman as a student in 7th grade and have taught in Ellington under the last 3 superintendents. Was hired by Dr. Packman, moved here under Steve Cullinan to move my family here, and now under Dr. Nickel. First of all, I would like to thank each and every one of you. I have a senior, Tyler, who is graduating, going off to Penn State to be a journalism major, and will be certainly telling his story of this tiny town going forward. I started communicating with Dr. Nickel and Mr. Guidry on May 26th on Tyler's behalf. He is tonight at work training for the summer, for summer camp, and couldn't be here on his own. I have reached out to several members of the board. Tyler is very uncomfortable at graduation having to interact with Dr. Nickel. And I've asked Dr. Nickel to do the right thing and step aside. You teach these kids to advocate for themselves and to feel free to speak up. And when a grown-up is advocating on a child's behalf, granted that child is going off to college, when a parent is advocating to an administrator and that administrator refuses to respond, I am begging this board to read the emails that I have sent you on Tyler's behalf and interact with him before graduation so that he is not humiliated on stage by an administrator. And I will certainly, Jen has all of my correspondence from today that I would like included in the packet to the board, the plea on Tyler's behalf. Tyler will also be in contact with each of you in the coming days to advocate on his own behalf. But Jen, you gave Allie her diploma a couple of years ago, and Tracy Skiff-Judson gave a diploma to Samantha, and it is not out of the ordinary for this board to stand up when a child is uncomfortable and say, here's a handshake. I know you're not comfortable with this grown-up, but you should be comfortable with another grown-up. I'm gonna stop short on the record of bringing out all of the little details, but that will be in your correspondence to the entire board. And I beg you to listen to what Tyler has to say and don't humiliate him on that stage on the night of graduation. Step aside. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, the next item on the agenda is the board chair report. I have just a few things for everyone. I did want to announce that our newest board member, Angie Moser, will be joining curriculum, policy, and operations.
All right.
So she's digging in. She's digging in. You got to love the enthusiasm. So we appreciate your efforts, definitely. Second of all, this month we had the CABE board chair meeting. We were doing it every other week during COVID, but we're going to start going to once a month. So that is the Connecticut Association of Boards of Education. Some of the things that we talked about that other board chairs brought up was, and something that the state's looking into, is the 25 credit requirement for students going forward in high school. There's concerns about seeing what the effects are on future graduation. So we'll be looking to hear about that. There were a lot of districts that had concerns about summer programs. The teachers are tired, the students are tired. We definitely have talked about that here in Ellington. So concerned about the social emotional aspects, definitely things we've all talked about here as well. But making sure that those kids, especially the distance learners, get acclimated back into the school system and have a nice smooth transition. The other thing that they were concerned about is the student growth versus the academic growth. So where are the students at coming back, especially the distance learners? Well, I think we take for granted here, I know sometimes I do, that we've been back in school since October, but there are so many districts that, one of the parents mentioned, a month ago they finally went back full in. So some of what we're hearing, we take for granted here, but it's happening across a district where there's a lot of concerns. Legislative wrap-up session for CABE will be on June 14th from 11 to 12:30. It'll be via Zoom. So if you're interested in hearing how everything panned out with legislation, you can join that Zoom call, and that's through cabe.org. And lastly, there was discussion about navigating no masks, the full capacity for sporting events, how different schools have different rules for indoors and outdoors, and how it was affecting parents. I know, we do tournaments for my kids, and everywhere is different. So it's kind of challenging for the schools to figure out spectators and how that's playing out. So we'll keep an ear out to see how things pan out. And that's it. That's the report that we have so far. So the next item is the consent agenda. Are there any items that anyone would like to remove from the consent agenda? Okay, hearing none, the consent agenda is approved.
Can I ask a question?
Certainly.
I'm curious about the employment of 2 technology technicians at the high school. Did 2 high school technology technicians resign?
I only see one.
You're talking about item number 3.
3 and 8.
And 8 is a tech ed teacher, not a technology specialist. Tech
Okay,
ed.
so one
One
does
does CAD and computer science and stuff, and the other helps teachers integrate
So
stuff.
did 2 resign, or are these added positions?
One's with John Collins and the other one is, from my understanding, right?
Superintendent will say, they're two replacements for two of them.
They're replacements. We had Brooke Schwartz resign. That was one that was reported out by John Collins, the Finance Committee.
Yeah.
And then we had a teacher resign and we replaced the position. All right.
Nothing new, I don't think.
Did you want to remove those?
No, I just wanted an answer.
Okay, so then the consent agenda is approved. The next item on the agenda is report and discussion items, special reports, appointment of the Board of Education student representative. Mr. Guidry.
Is there a formal passing of the torch or something?
I know, we should have a formal passing of the,
Like an
a
elimination
pencil,
event.
passing of the pencil or something.
We have to put this kind of halfway between you and me. Well, in the first place, we will all miss you, Ayushman. Not just at the board, but at the high school too, right? You're so embedded in the fabric of the high school that you will definitely be missed. So, and you are a serious act to follow. So I'm confident, though, that we have picked a really high quality, high performing, clever, thoughtful, reflective person to step into your role. So our selection is Madeline or Maddie Willett, and you all have you'll have a memo that I've prepared for you, but I just want to go through a couple of the highlights because Maddie is not just any old student at all. So it is unusual that her teachers constantly have accolades about who she is as a person and why they thought she was perfect for this role, describing her as poised, thoughtful, reflective, measured, committed, creative, well-spoken. She is all of those things, and I cannot wait for you to experience that with her. Her cumulative GPA is well over 100, right? It is almost 110. So she's definitely a high performer. Her class rank puts her well within the top 10 already of her class. Like other board reps before her, she is heavily involved in community service. She spends a lot of time working with our elderly at the Ivy. She volunteers much of her time to working with some of our students here in Ellington Public Schools on computer coding and STEM at the elementary and middle school. She has leadership positions in what seems like 15 different clubs, right? She is equally enmeshed in what we do as a community, as a high school community, and she is perfectly positioned to be able to share what she perceives with all of you. And it just so happens that her passions include both education and government. So she's very, very excited about this. And it is my pleasure to introduce her to you, Madeline Willett.
This is a little too tall.
Still too tall.
It's okay. Hello, everyone. Thank you for the amazing introduction, Mr. Guidry. As you know, my name is Madeline Willett, but Maddie is fine. And I just want to thank you guys for the opportunity to serve as a student representative. I'm so excited and honored to serve Ellington High School and the board in this way. I know that this position isn't an opportunity in other districts and areas, so I'm very grateful that we have this role. And I look forward to working with you all this upcoming school year.
Congratulations, welcome, Maddie.
Ms. Zen, if it pleases the board, if they would like, I think Ms. Mullen may want to make a motion symbolically for the board to act on the appointment of the student board rep.
I would like to make a motion to approve Maddie Willett as the Board of Education student representative for the 2021-2022 school year.
Second?
Second.
Seconded by Carrie Socha. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Motion carries. Welcome, Maddie. Congratulations. The next item on the agenda is a proposed field trip to Southwest National Parks.
And if I can just mention, this is exciting that we're getting back to field trips, especially field trips that are across the country and overnight. And as board members may understand, the board policy for field trips, the board only has to approve a field trip if it's going to be overnight. So whether it's in California or whether it's in Hartford, if it's overnight, the board approves the field trip. And this is very exciting for us to learn about a new field trip that we haven't previously known about. And so we have Mark Richard and Gomathi Ramachandran. I tried, thank you. I should have practiced before.
Affectionately called Miss R.
Miss R. I should have just said that. I had an out. So take it away, Mr. Richard.
All right, this idea actually was born years ago. I was teaching science, and it was part of something called the MRIA, Metacomet Ridge Interdistrict Academy, where they teamed up inner city schools with suburban schools, and you'd actually go out and do science-based research that scientists used for their studies. It was great, and I loved the way science kind of came alive for these kids. A lot of these kids who, you know, you do a lab in class and it's one thing, but there's just that one thing missing. You get them out on a Saturday in the field and they're actually doing real science, and it sparks something. Watching, you know, the language classes go abroad, watching a bunch, you saw a lot of the chorus groups go across, and I was like, what can we do for science? Science never does these great trips. So I kind of had this idea, and I ran across kind of looking for a science-based idea, and I ran across Grand Classroom, which is largely run by former science teachers, where they gear the entire trip just for science. So you can tailor it however you'd like. Well, then as we all know, COVID hit, and that pretty much fell through the cracks, and wasn't sure exactly how that was going to go. It looked like things were looking up for, not this year, but for next year. So I talked to Ms. Ramachandran, Ms. R, and the enthusiasm was unbelievable. So I teamed her up with Greg, and I always murder his name, Greg W. We'll go with Greg W. while we're going with Ms. R, with Grand Classroom, and they literally took it and ran with it. So we're looking at a trip in, not that, obviously this coming April. I'm gonna leave her with the details. If you have any questions, you guys have a memo on it, as well as, I believe there's a step-by-step, there's a little trailer for you, but I will leave it up to you. Ms. R.
Mark, let's tag team this, please. Yeah, thank you. I'm super happy to be here. I'll start this as a mom in town. I live in town, I have 2 kids. So when Mark approached me and like, hey, would you be interested in doing this? I'm like, yes, absolutely, let's do this. So we started planning around, I think in February, I guess. And it just like we started meeting a lot, putting together all the bits and pieces, nuts and bolts of it. He's been an amazing administrator to work with, and I'm not just saying it because he's my evaluator, but he's been super supportive.
It seems self-serving a little bit.
Yeah. So, and before I begin my presentation, I'm not going to run through the slides. I'll show you the trailer. We're just going to go through the purpose, educational objectives of the trip, and some other information. I'd like to start by saying that we did apply for the Edu Innovate grant. It was never our intention to do anything out of order. We never thought the grant would get approved first before us coming to the board. So we just want to put that out front. So for the purposes of the field trip and the objectives of the field trip, to give an immersive and experiential hands-on trip to our high school students. So that was the whole intention of us creating the trip together. All of the programs that is designed, all of the hikes, everything has been created with our Ellington High School science curriculum and department values in mind. We also want to facilitate an experience for students to reconnect to the restorative and rejuvenating power of the natural world after a year of COVID-19. We want to get out there, have our kids be out there on the field and have amazing experience.
Just for instance, like, you talk about geology in the classroom, and then they see the Grand Canyon, can actually talk about the different levels, the different layers, go back through time. There's part of it is going to be astronomy, where they actually get to see the dark skies. Ellington's dark, but not as dark as when you're out there. There's nothing you can see. And it's going to be led by an astronomy guide. That's sort of a piece where they can actually get into nature and actually see everything they've been working with.
I don't know where to start. I'm just like all over. Just a little bit about the Grand Classroom company that we are working with. They have 19 years of experience. They are partnered with over 450 schools nationwide. Grand Classroom is an industry leader and specialist in outdoor education in national parks and abroad. All our outdoor guides who will be on the Grand Classroom trip, on our Southwest National Parks trip, are certified wilderness first responders. They all know all the medical emergency procedures, and our students and chaperones are in safe hands medically. A little bit about the grant that we applied for. We wanted to tailor 3 enrichment activities that would tie in specifically to life science, earth science, and astronomy. Physical science, yes. Thank you, Mark. So those 3 are amazing experiential activities out there. Our students get to meet with California condor specialists on field, talking about or learning about how they collect data, how they are trying to save the endangered species of the California condors. That would be one day. And then we would then go to Zion National Park, and where we get to meet geologists who are working in the management of erosion and weathering events. So that's, again, it's all talk. We do a lot of lab activities in school. Just being out there and learning from an expert, I think it's powerful. Also, Mark brought it up, we are going to be attending a private evening astronomy program with the Dark Ranger of Bryce Canyon National Park. So a lot of fun stuff, a lot of events packed. We have copies of the Grand Circle Adventure final flyer for you. If you'd like, we could pass it out for you. Oh, yeah, right there, yeah. We do Innovate Grant. Am I missing anything, Mark?
No, the only thing I was going to say was one of the things I did notice, there are a lot of smaller hikes. So I was always, one of the things I wanted to make sure of is, given this past year, whenever we had to deal with COVID, what are the intricacies involved with if we have to sidestep it? Let's say weather plays a part. And there are 3 to 4 options for every single one that kind of take weather out of the problem area. So we leave Thursday, and we actually have an overnight flight where we come back Wednesday morning.
Yes.
Thursday morning.
Yes. Regarding the activities planned for our high school students, leading up to the trip, we have about a year leading up to the trip. And while they are on the trip, when they return back, it is going to be a reflective experience. That is one thing that we focus very much on. It's our vision of the grad. We enhance reflective learners. So just a little bit about it. Mark and I, we planned on creating some choice project opportunities where they would start off by meeting monthly with the chaperones or advisors, where we could bring in guest speakers once a month. They would start working on field journals while they are attending the monthly meetings after school. Then, while on the trip, they continue to maintain their field journals. They get their passport stamped in national parks or state parks, and then they come back. They could create, record, edit, and present a video for our Board of Ed. Oh, I'm sorry, I have to go back again, I'm sorry. Along with the EDU Innovate Grant, one big part is equity. Equity always comes in our forefront. We are hoping for 20 students to join our trip. What about all of our other students, right? So part of the EDU Innovate Grant is that we would record all the field experts on the trip and then bring back bits and pieces of that as a documentary, which then would be, we could use it in our science classrooms, and also, kind of use it as a promotional material. That way, all our kids, all our Ellington students have access to a piece of the Southwest. So that is something that I'm super excited about.
That their peers took, as opposed to YouTube.
Could other students ask questions before you go, and those students could take the questions to the experts then?
Yes.
As part of their monthly pre-meetings?
That is an awesome question and a suggestion, Dr. Young. That is amazing. Yes, absolutely. Right? Yeah.
Because I have some questions I'd like to have asked by the Condor guy for sure.
We'll send you the link.
So students and board members,
You can
students
put up
and
a-
board
yeah.
members, yeah.
I do have a few questions. First and foremost, do you need board member chaperones? That's probably the most important one. But secondly, to achieve your 20 to 25 student anticipated participants, is there a class prerequisite for this, or are you going to open it up to the entire school and find, the first 20 or 25 that sign up and that's it? Or is it the first 20 or 25 that pay the deposit? Or, and selfishly, again, I'm asking this because I have a high school student.
A couple things. First of all, our goal is 20. Optimistically, I'd love to see that number go up. That was one of the questions I asked Grand Classroom, and that would basically change the numbers and probably bring the numbers down overall, if we can get that many.
The cost.
But it's got to be, our goal is 20 to 25. The nice thing about Grand Classroom also that I meant to mention, their financing is individual to the families. So the $99 deposit holds their spot, but then they can actually work it out with Grand Classroom how they want to do it. It can be something per month, it could be 3 payments, however they want to do it, and it's all individual through Grand Classroom. We don't collect any money. So originally we're looking at 20 to 25. Again, optimistically, I'd love to see that number go up, and again, I'd like to see the program grow, years forward. So right now we're looking at that, starting with probably the freshman, sophomore, and if that works out, definitely go up.
So I think I think what board member Mullen was getting at is, it's great we're looking at 20 to 25. That's the goal. Could it be 75? Could it be 105?
Theoretically, yes. Being the first one, I would be something I'd have to seriously consider, but we'd also probably need a board member at that point.
That's when they
because
would need me.
We need a lot of support.
So the idea is, it's not like you're not applying to get in. It's whoever wants to go.
Correct.
And if it's 45 kids, and we can work out all the finances, especially if people have trouble access to funds. We could have 45 people go on the trip, and then we would just have to figure out all the logistics.
Exactly.
Okay, great.
That's why I'm going to
That's
be
fine.
promoting this now.
Hence the optimism.
Any other questions from board members?
What is the cost to the family of the child that goes?
First of all, the other thing I like about Grand Classroom, just before we talk numbers, it is literally all inclusive. Our person, Greg, is actually going to be meeting us at the airport and flying all the way out with us. Every single meal is included. So a lot of times when you get these trips, they say, here's the cost, but you still have to send $300 to $500 for food or whatever. The only thing they're going to have to buy are souvenirs. And I say have to, obviously, you don't have to buy a souvenir. But so the early bird special, if you get in by September 17th, is $2,850. I think it's $2,949. After September 17th, it's $29.99 or $3,000. Sound like a car salesman. $29.99. That being said, again, that's everything. That's every breakfast, every lunch, every dinner. And they actually supply the food along the way. So they take box lunches, for instance, on a hike. So that's soup to nuts.
And if I may add, we actually worked with Greg, and we asked him if he could, maybe we requested him to move the early bird pricing, just because of all the, we're just presenting it to the board right now. Just like looking at the time concerns, how are we going to be able to promote this Southwest field trip, especially because it's a brand new initiative from a science department. So they were amazing at accommodating our request, and they moved it to September 17, 2021. Until September 17th, it is the early bird pricing. After that, it would go to $29.99. And the registrations close on October 31st. I'm sorry. Is it 2022 now? Okay, registration deadline is October 31st, 2021. There's a typo.
So in connection with that, what if there's a student that you think would really benefit from this trip and you know that they wouldn't be able to afford it, the family?
There are
Is
a couple of options. One of the grants that you're looking at, she's also, Miss R,
Yes.
has worked with somebody who's actually going to Yellowstone, who works as a park ranger on the summer, and they're actually going to be holding out buckets for Ellington High, where basically travelers, tourists can contribute money towards this trip. So that is going to be used, we'd look at the free and reduced lunch type thing, if they fall into that, and use a portion of that. The other thing that Grand Classroom does, they do crowdsourcing. So for instance, if somebody's interested, and you can actually, they did this for a while, I think, with Dodge, where you could help invest for a part of the car. So let's say, Ayushman, you're buying your Dodge Viper after you've just won your first $1 million, that you could actually have people contribute to that. So their family, friends, neighbors can actually contribute, and it's to them. It's not to the trip as a whole, so it's just to Ayushman's Viper Fund.
And if you put in $50, all of that $50 goes to that particular student's trip.
If I recall, Liz, it's set up very similarly to the way the Washington DC trip at the middle school used to be. Same kind of thing where you would go through DebtGo to book it. I know my parents paid, for some of it. They could go online and contribute whatever they wanted to, and so that it's set up similarly by the sounds of it to that.
I think one thing that's important, especially with a trip like this, is that when we're marketing the trip and we're trying to get kids interested, you don't attach the price tag, right? Because some families, some children will see the price tag and they will just not even consider it because of the $2,800, right? So when they don't see the price tag and they're interested, then we work with our teacher, administrators, or our counselors to get them excited about the trip, to want them to invest in the trip and be there. And then if the money is an issue, we will be able to work it out. So those are some great ideas about that. But the school district will make sure with a variety of different funds that no student that wants to go on this trip is going to be prohibited from doing so.
And again, my mom self comes in. I'm just going to pitch in right here. Ellington is an amazing community. I have permission to say her name here. I reached out to Diane Lasher-Penty from Ellington Youth Services. And I said, like, hey, is there any scholarship or is there any available funds that we could maybe, bring in to get our kids to the Southwest National Park? And she's like, go Mate, I don't know about it right this year, but come back to me September. So, and I checked in with our PTO, unofficial PTO person at the Ellington High School. She's amazing again. She's like, oh, anytime you need any help, I'm ready to sit down, work something with you, because we were concerned that I've never done a fundraiser event before. How am I going to do this? How are we going to spread this word out? It's an amazing initiative. So we have got the Ellington Town's support, like amazing people in the community. So.
That's excellent. Any other questions from board members? Well, we can certainly see the enthusiasm, and we are looking forward to moving this forward. Does anybody, do you have a motion for that, right?
It pleases the board. It is on the action item list at the end. And so the board can wait, but of course you can always entertain a motion from the floor if you wish.
I'd like to make a motion.
Please, Carrie.
Okay. I'd like to move that the Board of Education approve the Ellington High School field trip to Southwest National Parks from April 7th through 12th, 2022, subject to conditions as outlined in board policy number, 6153. Sorry, I don't have my glasses on.
Seconded by Marcia. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye. Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Motion carries.
Thank you very much.
It's very exciting. Congratulations. Thank you for all your hard work to get that presentation ready for us. Okay, the third item is the summer 2021 programming. Mr. Hendrickson and Dr. Laporte.
Good evening, everyone. Good to see you all. Dr. Laporte, no problem. Up here. So we're going to talk to you a little bit about our summer programming and to echo the comments in the board chair report about, and I've heard it referred to as staff burnout, student burnout throughout the pandemic, getting staff interested in it, available, and able to the summer program has been a major challenge for school districts all across the state. We have experienced some of those challenges in Ellington. And that at the same time, I'm happy to report that we have approximately 300, a little bit over 300 students total in our ESY program, our summer programming, and then a new intervention model summer programming. So we do have a healthy amount of students that are going to be participating. One of the things we were able to do as a team, and it's noted in the memo, is we increased the pay rate for staff to help entice the summer programming. Childcare has been reported to us historically on having staff come in and work summer programming, so we're happy to report we were able to work that out, and that was due to the really healthy collaboration and cooperation across the school. So in your memo, you kind of see overview of our ESY, our summer program, no cost, as well as our invitation summer math and reading camps at the elementary level, and we'll be happy to answer any questions. And Christy, any comments? Okay.
Go ahead. Carrie.
First, it is really great to see you both without a mask on. You guys are both looking very handsome and attractive tonight. Second, I just want to let you know that one of my children will be in the baking camp, so I will let you guys know how that went. And thank you guys for putting together the summer program. I think it's great. And some of the things on there look really fun and exciting to do for the kids. So that's awesome. The only other thing I wanted to ask of Mr. Hendrickson, can we get, when the SBAC, are we able to, when the SBAC scores come in, are we able to see the distance learners SBAC scores versus in-person learners SBAC scores, so broken down by grade, so we can see if, as one way of measuring to see where we're at in terms of the learning?
Yes, in a nutshell, yes, within internally, and we can report that out to the board. Just one item of note, the state has yet to decide if they're going to be releasing that information, Carrie, publicly by school district and grade level. Internally, we'll be able to see that and report out on it, and we're watching that very closely.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions?
Just a quick statement from the communications committee, and I know we didn't meet, but I kind of reached out. I know I talked to you about doing an episode of Behind the Scenes on the summer programming. This week was a nightmare, and it was not going to work for anybody. So we're hoping to be able to film that in the next week or two. So we will be out there promoting it from a communication standpoint.
Yeah, and that's a testament to the teamwork throughout the district. I do have to give a big shout out to all of our staff who came up with creative programs that really captured their attention and their interest and their passion. So it's a true testament. You hear everybody talking about how resilient Ellington is. That's absolutely true. Amazing teamwork all the way around. Our staff, Christy and I, are always reflecting on how fortunate we are to have such a wonderful, dedicated staff and parents and PTO and everybody working together to make things happen for our kids and keep the learning going.
Well, on one side note, I just wanted to speak about two different people who really stepped up in a time of need. And thank you so much for increasing the amount of money. We were still short teachers. And we did have school psychologist Dr. Marcotte and school counselor Jessica Marshall step up. And they are going to facilitate credit recovery with two other teachers because we needed more people. We have quite a few students this year who need to finish out their year, IEPs, 504s, things that that through their IEP they're allowed to have that summer program. So just a big shout out, you know, something that's so wonderful about Ellington is when we really need our teachers to step up, they're willing to do it. It's not their certification, but they're going to be able to work with other teachers and make it work. So shout out to them.
Brian and Carrie, if you need somebody to taste the baking from the camp this summer.
Why do you think I signed her up?
I think the board would step up there too.
Okay.
I think we have
And
to talk to
Gary would be
I
involved
saw
in that
Gary's
as well.
Yes, Gary.
Gomathi and Mark to get like baking in to the California Condors trip. That could be pretty epic. I couldn't resist that one.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry. All right.
Is there food science involved in the baking camp that you know? Because we've talked about doing that in the regular curriculum sometimes with Mr. Hellman, but there are some restrictions of doing it in certifications, right, during the regular year. But could the summer camp do a little science as well of what baking soda does? And
I'm sure every opportunity to infuse some academic content connections that will happen at the same time. We really want to keep the emphasis on having it be as fun as possible to attract
as you know, baking is
participation.
a science.
It is.
Unlike just cooking, right? It's very precise.
Cooking is art, baking science. We could talk about that upcoming curriculum committee meeting.
Curriculum meeting.
Okay, any other questions?
Yeah, I was wondering, what kind of sign-up have you had already? I mean, do you have a lot of people already signed up for classes?
Yeah, so we have about 300 total in all three programs, and approximately 100 in each. So about 100 in ESY, 100 in the no-cost summer programming, and that's in ActiveNet that's been out, and parents can sign up. And then the summer reading and math programming, the invitation only, we have approximately, I believe it's 80 last time I checked, approximately.
Okay, so if they wanted to sign up sometime during the summer for one of these programs, and there's an opening, would they be able to, or is there?
Yes, and I encourage anybody on the board or audience or at home listening, anyone who's interested in this and is having any issue, difficulty registering, absolutely reach out to central office. They could contact myself or Sue Callagher, our central office secretary, and we'll look into that.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions, comments?
I have one more quick one. Just reading, it says that registration has ended.
Yeah, on that form, some registrations have ended, and if they haven't filled, we're extending it and sending it out again.
I'll get an update from you before I do the behind the scenes.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
The next item on the agenda is regular board committee reports. There were absolutely no regular board committee meetings this past month. Yes. So we will move to administrative reports, superintendent's report. Dr. Nicole?
Well, the next curriculum meeting is the 15th.
Yes.
Just putting that in minutes.
Thank you. Duly noted.
Yes, and then I also remind the board that the turnaround from the May to the June meeting is very quick. So typically it's typical not to have many committee reports at the June meeting. I have one agenda item, and what's been a nice blessing for Windermere is that our principal Hill, as you all know, went out on maternity leave and had a baby with her partner, and we were very excited for her, and she has returned. And during that time, Assistant Principal James was the acting principal for Windermere, and we were very proud of her running Windermere School during a very challenging time, and she did an amazing job. Great effort, and thank you for doing that. And so we're also just so pleased and very happy for Jen James and her husband that she's expecting a child soon enough. Her first, so she's going to become a mother, and it's just this amazing time for her. And because it's just unusual, we do have from time to time child rearing leaves in all different of the bargaining units that are beyond the FMLA. But it's a little bit unusual for an administrator to request a full year, which is totally appropriate. And it's amazing for a mom to be with her child for a full year. It's really super, super important. So Jennifer James, has asked for essentially what it would be an unpaid full year. It's in line with the contract. She will be paid during her FMLA time, and when the FMLA runs out, She would be on an unpaid leave for the duration of the 21-22 school year. Anytime that we have a request like this, the superintendent has to look at the impact on the school district. And of course, we feel very confident that in the absence of Ms. James at Windermere, that we will do an internal posting for an interim assistant principal. That certainly any teacher with an 092, if they want a leadership opportunity for the school year, they can apply for that position, and then we would fill it for 1 year only, and then Ms. James would have rights back to her job for the 2022-2023 school year. And so this is the recommendation from the superintendent is for the board to consider this and approve it. I believe the school district will be able to run very well, although we would greatly miss Ms. James and all of her outstanding work. And I do believe certainly the board does not have to act this moment. There's an action item. And also, if it pleases the board, if they want a little bit more information, they want to discuss it a little bit more with the superintendent, it is an appropriate item if we want to go into executive session at the end of the meeting just to discuss it. And that's certainly appropriate also. So that's the superintendent's report, and I'm open for discussion now or whatever people are willing to do.
Okay, I'll open it up to discussion. Does anybody want to wait and discuss it further in executive session? Does someone want to make a motion? Is there any discussion?
I move that the Board of Education approve the unpaid child rearing leave request of Jennifer James, Assistant Principal at Windermere School, to commence on the completion of her FMLA and to conclude June 30th, 2022.
Second.
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Wait, there were like 5 seconds. Who seconded it first? Jen? Jen. Okay. Seconded by Jen. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Motion carries. Congratulations, Jen.
Congratulations.
Okay. Moving on to Director's Report, the District School Improvement Plan Update. Mr. Hendrickson.
All right, so the memo in your packet is very much a teaser to a more thorough report that will be presented to the board in July that will include artifacts for each of the action steps in key areas. A couple things to highlight. SEL has been a major focus this year, and as in the board chair's report on the distance learners, that has been a priority for us. We've had a really good program development in that, targeting specifically our silver students and tracking that through what we call our culture of feedback and making adjustments as we go. So we'll be reporting out specifics on that. You're going to hear more about the ruler program in the July report, as well as all throughout next year as we look to develop a comprehensive behavior support program that's consistent across all of our schools. That'll be very important as we transition out of this COVID year. So those are some items in there. SEL, you'll hear about it in the news quite a bit. Concerns all across the country, in the state, in the region, on how are we doing everything we can to support students that have gone through this, the social isolation, levels of anxiety, the trauma. You'll hear that word quite a bit. So we're looking at all of that. We have been looking at that, and we'll continue to talk about what we've done this year in July. High quality teaching, I can't help, Gomathy was here earlier. One of the things that we've done this year is develop that talented and gifted enrichment, STEM enrichment with the LMS reorg. We're very excited about that. Gomathy, you could, I'm sure, sense the energy and enthusiasm. She is our 5-6 STEM enrichment teacher and tech integrationist. We're extremely thrilled about that, and we're really excited about seeing the science integration. So that energy and enthusiasm that was captured earlier is going to be directly, the beneficiary is going to be our students. Super happy and excited about that. So you'll see several other items there that we're going to go through in July, and with the efficient operations, amazing work with the reopening across all of the schools to make sure that we're safe. A highlight, I have to point out, we had kindergarten orientations today at Windermere and Center School, and the other week at Crystal Lake. And it was wonderful to see us do that. We could not have done that without all of the reopening work and the collaboration and teamwork that's gone through that. So all great work all across, a lot of collaboration and feedback all throughout. And we're gonna talk a little bit about in July the priorities for next year, continue to focus on SEL, data visualization with Infinite Campus to get at some of Carrie's questions about looking at Silver and their performance. We really wanna capture that, look at all of our data and visualize that to make the best decisions that we can. And we do have a very exciting position that's been developed and approved, and appreciate the board support for that, the HR coordinator position. That will be very important to make sure our staff are supported in years ahead, and also work in compliance with all of the various aspects of all things HR. So that's just a teaser for a deeper dive report in July.
I'll open it up to any questions from board members. That's it, you're off the hook. Thank you.
And I did have a question from a board member. Jen just asked me. It was okay. The HR core, we weren't going to make her come to a board meeting and miss her a wedding tasting. No way. That's not going to happen. So,
I just had a question.
Certainly.
So I know that I don't know when the state comes out with the SBACs. What month do they typically come out with that?
It's been earlier and earlier, so it's been July.
Oh, okay.
Kind of now.
Because I didn't.
Oh, go ahead.
I didn't know if there was something like, I didn't want to wait until later to then try to clean it. What I'm thinking is if there is some sort of gap that you're seeing, or in certain grades or wherever with distance learners versus in-person learners, that at that point that extra support gets put in place or to help the students. I didn't want to wait until they're already in the swing of it, mid-year, and we're trying to do like a catch-up. The idea of looking at the SBACs is to see if kids were left behind, or identify ones that maybe they were doing really great and then they fell back because of the COVID thing, or whether they're in or out of school, to be able to get them supported sooner rather than later, so they don't fall further behind.
Yeah, as soon as we get the data, we'll immediately begin to strategize on how we can utilize that to make immediate modifications or supports or interventions. I'm anticipating early July. They haven't released that information, but I think we'll have time over the summer to make tweaks and make adjustments to make sure our students are in an absolute best position. And I will note that the state has gone out of its way to say don't use that SBAC data for any evaluative purposes, because there's so many variables involved. Ellington is one of a handful of districts that remained full in person and then had a standalone distance learning program in the K-6 grades. So that data, from my perspective, is much more valuable for Ellington than other districts. So we're going to be looking at that closely, taking it all with a grain of salt, but looking to do everything that you said, Carrie. As soon as we get our hands on it, we'll be acting on it.
And I think the grade breakdown is important, because the way that it was done at the elementary level versus middle school and high school was different. So that may impact where kids are at too.
Yeah, in the state also this year, they administered like an optional climate survey to districts, to students. It's not as intense. It's an optional. So I don't know how that, they haven't decided if districts are going to get results. I don't think so. But we also want to look at that panorama, that school climate data we did, because we do disaggregate that by silver, and then look at performance trends as well. So we'll be doing all of that in the summer, no doubt about it.
We can get that on curriculum for the next meeting after you have the data.
Yes, I'd be happy to do that.
And just to follow up on Carrie's, do you know, or can you tell me if homeschoolers also take SBAC, and if we get those data as well?
They do not. They do not.
Is there a way for us do we offer it to them and they choose not to, or is it not offered at all?
The state only offers, because it's a SACID number, you have a unique ID code that's attached to a public school student. So that's how that works. There are tests that are out there that homeschool students can take through privately administered companies that mirror the SBAC, but we wouldn't see the results of that.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions for Brian? Thank you, Brian.
You're welcome.
Next item on the agenda is the monthly finance report. Mr. Greenleaf.
Hey, how's everybody doing tonight? So monthly finance report, you'll see the balances come down a little bit to 450,120. Still very positive balance, and we're still working through adjustments. Expect to return hopefully a couple $100,000 more than we expected back a couple months ago to the town based on some one-time savings. I'm still working on that final number. Our last payroll is this week, so we'll have a better sense of where we are after that. Other than that, I'm happy to answer any questions.
I just have one.
Sure.
That's not on your list. It's item number 733, furniture and fixtures, down 1,000%. Could you speak to that?
Yes, I believe that's tied to some pre-purchasing that was approved by the board in their in the budget presentation that we do. Typically, we set aside some money for equipment for furniture, and that's what that's tied to.
Not associated with Windermere at all?
No.
Thank you.
I should rephrase that. I don't know exactly what it's tied
Not
to.
anymore.
It's
Right.
not more than any other.
More
store.
than normal,
Yeah.
thank you.
Brian, for the propane and natural gas, are we working with the town to look at, I know you're saying that across the district they're increasing.
Yeah, we saw it in several accounts this year, additional costs within the propane. So as I kind of say there, we're working to understand whether that's a usage issue, right? So that our usage has gone up over previous years, or whether it's a pricing issue, whereas the cost of propane was a little bit more this year. We still haven't determined that yet.
When do you think you might have that determined?
I'll have it for you next meeting.
Okay. Any other questions on the finance report? Gary?
Where's the new sign?
I was told mid-June last month, so it's not yet mid-June yet.
Okay,
It's on its way.
I got another question.
Sure.
You know, when we went by the thing today, my wife says, doesn't look like there's a new sign yet. So, you know, and then she asked, who's the guy responsible for that? I said, oh, his name is Greenleaf. So,
Board member Blanchett is responsible.
Yeah, I will say I will make sure that we contact the vendor tomorrow to double check that it's coming in short order.
Any other questions for Mr. Greenleaf? Thank you.
Just to confirm, it was 19,000 spent on furniture and fixtures, right? What concerned me is that there was a budget of 1,900 something, and then it jumps to 19,000.
Yes, the expenditures to date are, excuse me. So the expenditures year to date are 2,075.48, and then there's an encumbrance. So that means a purchase order has been created for the 19,400.
Thank you. I thought it might be a decimal plate issue there.
Thank you. Thank you, Brian. Board liaison reports. I guess we can go around the table. Craig? Gary, anything with Craig?
Craig's meeting is next Wednesday.
Okay. Cabe? Any info from Cabe?
All I had was,
The
I did, yeah,
June
I did the
14th.
last one too, about the legislative wrap-up, and you already mentioned it anyway, so
Sorry, okay.
that's okay.
Marcia, anything with EDU Innovate? No, okay. Liz, Board of Finance?
Actually, no, I didn't get to the meeting, but there was an article in the paper. And I'm sure everybody saw that. I believe it was yesterday, that there will be a committee to watch over the money that the town receives and find out, to keep an eye on where it is spent, and if it is spent for the right things. And Picard was the one that brought that up during the Finance Committee meeting. So I think that's just for the town, not for the Board of Education, because we are different.
There was one motion made involving the Board of Education, but I don't have all the details on it yet, but we'll get that. Thank you. Ayushman?
I'm trying to remember what I had told you about the last report. I believe I had told you all about prom. And
Yes.
Wait a minute, is Ayushman not prepared for his report? This is what I want to know. I've never seen this
He's off
before.
duty now, superintendent.
Look at this,
There's a new
he's got all the
nominee.
congratulations, and now he's just not doing
That's
his
it.
report, is that right?
He's turned over the chair already.
Since my last report, class day, class night both happened, which were successful events. So really great to have those opportunities. Today was all the seniors' last day of school, which was exciting, a little bittersweet for some of us. Graduation coming up this Friday. Hope you all will be there. I heard it's going to be good weather. And
That's it. We're going to miss you. Thank you very much for all your contribution.
Is your car all decorated for tomorrow?
not yet. It will be.
Excellent. Okay, moving on, action items.
Move the acceptance of personnel retirement request of Denise Arms, preschool teacher at Windermere, effective June 30, 2021.
Second.
Seconded by Liz. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Can we do
Opposed?
old and new business or after this?
Sorry.
Can we do old and new business after this or no?
Yep.
Usually do like around.
It's
Oh, it's there. Oh,
come
okay.
on.
Sorry.
Opposed, abstained, motion carries. Number 4, approval, because we're skipping the other two. Approval of the personal leave request of Andrew Coleman.
Approval of the personal leave request of Andrew Coleman from May 18th, 2021 to June 30th, 2021 per Article 14, leaves of absence without pay of the Ellington Paraprofessionals, CSEA SEIU Local 2001 Collective Bargaining Agreement.
Seconded by Marcia. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, motion carries. Approval of a personal leave request of Carrie Ann Clement. Somebody want to read? Sorry, thank you.
For
Thank you.
approval of the personnel leave request for Carrie Ann Clement, commencing May 12, 2021 for approximately 4 weeks per Article 14, leaves of absence without pay of the Ellington Paraprofessionals, CSEA SEIU Local 2001 Collective Bargaining Agreement.
Second.
Seconded by Jen. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, motion carries. Next item on the agenda is old business, new business.
Sorry about that.
That's okay. Carrie, let's.
I just wanted to, I know we're not doing this meeting, but I have seen the signs around town about unmasking the children. And I think it's great that parents come out and the community involvement, and if it's appropriate, I would request that maybe next meeting, depending on what's going on at the state level, that the board, we could have this discussion at the board level, potentially.
Absolutely, thank you. Any other old or new business? Okay, correspondence. It was a busy month. Fred Johnson sent a correspondence regarding the hearing that took place. Mark and Becky Smith sent a correspondence regarding support of Dr. Nickel. Pamela Queso sent correspondence regarding the school system and the Board of Education. Meredith LaMalva sent correspondence regarding the hearing. Kristin Millen sent correspondence regarding the hearing. Andrea Haney sent correspondence regarding the mask mandate. Kristen Deptula regarding the mask mandate. And then Kristin Millen again regarding the diploma receipt protocol. Everyone has copies of all of those correspondence. I sent them out to everyone just prior to the meeting. My apologies for not getting, some of them you had earlier, but some of them I sent to you. So everyone, they're not in your packets, but you do all have them via email. If you're missing any, let me know. Round table, is there any other discussion at this point? Any board member? Okay, so we're past the executive session. That's not necessary. I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Moved by Marcia, seconded by Dr. Young. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, motion carries. We are
Holy mackerel.
done with our meeting.